Okay, so we're checking out your tooth model at the moment, and we're looking at your UV set. I'm just going to go through today and show you how to go about laying out your UVs. So this is what we have at the moment. Essentially, what we're going to want these UVs to look like in the end will basically be sort of like a snapshot of the front side of the tooth and the back side of the tooth. Okay, so in the end it'll be two pieces. Alright, one will look basically like the tooth when viewed from the front, okay, and the other piece that we have will look like the tooth when viewed from the back. Alright, so two separate pieces. Now, first thing probably that we want to make sure we understand is which faces are actually on the front of the tooth and the back of the tooth. If we actually go into face mode here and we select faces on the front of the tooth here, we can see as we're selecting them, they're lighting up in orange over here in our UV texture editor, okay? So at the moment, you can see they're kind of all over the place, but that's fine because we're gonna rearrange them. That's kind of what the UV texture editor window is all about. We're just gonna take these pieces and we're gonna rearrange them. All right. So we can kind of see now where these pieces are located if I click off. Just go back to object mode. So we know we've got these guys are part of the front. These guys right here are part of the front. Now a couple of these over here, and I think these guys as well. Alright. There will also be sort of a seam in our tooth, if you will, okay? Basically right along this edge here, okay, that goes around the tooth. This is where it's going to switch between being either the front side of the tooth or the back side of the tooth. Okay, so this is going to be our seam, alright? So anywhere where we see these edges here, which I have highlighted over here as well, that's kind of marking an area where the outer edge of a certain piece should be, okay? So essentially, you know, we can see anywhere on this side of the line is going to be one side of the tooth. Anywhere on the other side of the line is going to belong to the other side of the tooth, alright? So in this case, this would be the front, and anything over here would be the back, alright? So we want to separate those front and back pieces from one another, okay? So it's pretty simple to do that. All we need to do is grab all those edges all the way around the tooth here, okay, just like I just have. Make sure you get all of them, okay? So just double check, take a look around. So once you have all of those selected, you can see them highlighted here. You can just come up right here to this little tool. It's the Separate UVs tool, okay, or Cut UVs tool, whichever you prefer, and it's got a little picture of scissors, okay. You're just going to click on that, and it's going to look like absolutely nothing happened at all, but it has, okay. So just to show you, we'll go ahead and go to UV mode here, because we're going to be working with our UVs now, alright. And I'm going to grab one of these UVs along this edge that I have just cut, okay? And when I grab that, you can see it pulls away, okay? And you know, at the moment, we're working in kind of a difficult mode to sort of see what's going on. Alright, so make sure if you're not seeing any colors, filled in these UVs. Just come up to this little button right here. It's called Toggled Shaded UV Display, okay? And just looks like a box and another box that's blue. Just click on that so that it's on, okay? And we'll get this nice blue, red, and purple display, right? That's gonna just tell us whether our UVs are facing the correct way or if they are upside down, okay? Blue means they are facing the right way, red means they're upside down. And we'll deal with those in just a moment. Again, I've managed to cut these UVs, alright? So, you know, this again is the front side of my tooth over here, and this is the back side. So we're just pulling these apart. Okay, so now I have the back side and the front side separated from one another, at least over there, okay? And if you remember, we also had a seam right here, okay, that we cut. So we'll want to pull those apart. Now what you can also do, which can make this task a little bit easier, after you have cut something apart, you can grab any UV on one side, okay? And you can use a trick where you hit the shift, hold down shift, and hit the period key, okay? And what that does is selects every UV that is adjacent to the one you already have selected, okay? So it's going to go around and select anything that's next to that UV that you have selected. So you can keep hitting that button, okay, as many times as you want. And eventually it's going to select every UV that's on this piece, okay? And it will not jump over to another piece and select things over there. So once we've done that, we've got all of the UVs from this piece selected, and we can just pull it away, okay? So again, I believe this is the front side of the tooth over here. So now that we kind of have, you know, established some of the front side pieces, we know this one's the front side, let's pull them over. And it's fine to pull them over to this gray area when we're still working with shaping them and everything, okay? So no problem there. Of course, we will move them back to this 0-1 UV space over here when we have them all shaped the way we want. But for now, you know, we can use as much of this workspace as we want to. Okay. There's a piece here as well. Okay. So we can pull away. Again, I was just using the hold shift and press period, okay, method. And I believe this one is the front side. And if you're ever confused about which one belongs to a certain side, you know, just be aware that when you grab these UVs, they will light up on your model, okay? So you can kind of figure out which side things are on based on that. So if I grab this, we kind of just determine this is the front of our tooth here, or what we're going to call the front at this point. Okay, so we've got those guys lighting up on this side, the front side. These guys are lighting up on the front side. Okay, so these all belong to the same side of the tooth, okay? Let's check on these as well. You can see when I grab those, these two light up, alright? And a bunch of these light up when I grab this whole piece. So this is also part of the front side of the tooth, leaving the rest here to be part of the back side of the tooth. So if we come over to the back side, we grab all of these, we can see all those guys light up, okay? Alright, so we've kind of established which pieces belong to the front of the tooth and which pieces belong to the back. Now we just have to go about reshaping them and sewing them back together to make one solid piece that is roughly shaped like your tooth model, okay? So let's go ahead and start sewing some of these back together, okay? Because right now we're working with a bunch of different pieces, and ideally we want this whole front side of the tooth to just be one solid piece, okay? We also, as I said, want it to be roughly shaped like the tooth that we're seeing. So a good place to start might just be right at the bottom there, okay? You can see when I grab that, this guy right here lights up, okay? So this UV right here represents this bottom part of the tooth, okay? So I'm gonna pull that out a little bit and just place it right here, okay? Just as a starter, okay? The next one up, if I grab this one that's connected to it, we can see that that is represented by this guy right here, okay? So I can place that in something that looks kind of like mirroring the way these two UVs are related to one another here, right here in our UV window, okay? This guy is going to be the one over here on this side, so we can pull that down, okay? I'm going to move this over a little bit. This one right here is going to be this center one that's one edge loop up from the bottom here. So we can pull that up, okay, and into the center. So just by kind of moving things around and looking at where they are in relation to your tooth model, by checking your tooth model, you can start to understand the shaping of your tooth UVs and whereabout they should be, okay? So this guy, for example, is this one right down here in the corner. So we can put it right about there, all right? And just kind of continue on in this manner with these UVs, all right? Okay, so we kind of have this section figured out, more or less, alright? I'd bring that in a little bit maybe to match a little better, but you know, it looks something like this. And then we kind of get to the top here and it gets a little weird looking, alright? So, you know, again, just checking your model, we can see this one goes right here, okay? So we can kind of mimic that in our UV window. The next one is going to be this one right here. We can just pull it right about there, okay? Here's another that we can kind of copy what we're seeing here, all right? This one looks about fine where it is. And then this one is going to be just down below underneath that top one there. And this one will be below that, all right? So we've got that all shaped, but you can see we're missing a huge chunk. So obviously we're gonna have to deal with that somehow. And you know, I'm actually gonna bring this up just a little bit to try to match this shape here just a little better. Doesn't have to be precise, but you know, you want to get it pretty close, okay? Now, again, as I said, we're missing these huge chunks here of our tooth, so we need to go ahead and put those pieces back where they belong, and where we're going to find those is in these other pieces that we have here. Now, these pieces are not necessarily shaped correctly at this point. You know, this is looking like a bunch of squares right now, That could be anything, you know, this as well could be anything. So a good place to start is finding out where our edges are, alright? So, right here, for example, we've got this kind of chunk missing, right? So, if we grab this edge, you'll see it lights up orange, okay? And we can see it on the model as well, lighting up orange, alright? So what we have right here, this polygon, is representative of this polygon right here on our model, okay? And on the other side of this edge, there should be another polygon, okay? This long one right here, okay? But you can see on our UVs, it's not there. Now, there is there's another UV somewhere out here that shares this edge, alright? So, this polygon right here has this edge, okay, and this polygon right here also shares this edge. So, when I select this edge, there's actually a corresponding edge that will also light up, okay? And it's actually right here, it's very close by. So if you see, this edge right here has also lit up, okay? So what that means is that this edge, even though it looks at the moment to be really quite large and long, is actually the same edge as this one, okay? So it's just kind of the other side of that edge. So what we can do with that information, so we can grab this, and we can rotate it around, we can scale it, you know, we can do whatever we want with it, but the idea here is that these two edges sort of belong together, okay? So we just want to do whatever we can to move those into place so that they're close together, okay? And then we'll continue along here with the next edge where there's a chunk missing, okay? We can see that that next edge lights up right here, okay? So these two edges are also corresponding. So we'll move that into place, okay? Let's go to our next edge here. Okay, so I've gone ahead and clicked on this edge, and you can see none of these are lighting up, so those are not part of it. Alright, so let's see what did light up. If we look closely, we can see it's this one right here, okay? So let's go ahead and just grab this whole piece. We will we'll rotate it around. We can move it up here. We can scale it in if we want to, something like that. All right. I'm just gonna move this as well because as we're sitting right on top of each other, as you can see, you know, if you just grab one of those guys and move it, you can see this piece a little better. I'm gonna move this over here, and again, this is the edge that corresponds with this one. So we can just use our UV tool and just move that into place, okay? Just like that. Alright, so let's take a look at our next edge. You can probably guess these two belong together, alright? So we can move that into place as well. And, you know, after a while, when you're kind of used to doing this sort of thing, you'll be able to guess really easily which edges belong to one another, okay? And you'll be able to kind of figure out how to shape things accordingly, okay? So we've got this piece sort of worked out and into place where we want it. This as well is actually going to correspond right here, okay? So we'll pull those over. And again, don't forget when you're doing this sort of thing, you can still just grab individual UVs and look at your model to see what lights up, so that you can get an idea of where things belong, all right, in relation to other parts of your model. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. We still have all these pieces over here. We can see that we're still missing this side of the front of our tooth. So let's, we're gonna, of course, assume that this must be it, right? Because this is all we've really got left of that front side. So again, we can just kind of use that technique of looking at our edges, all right, and seeing what lights up. So we can see that this edge right here, when we grab it, corresponds with this edge right here, okay? So let's grab these UVs, and we'll move that edge into place. Now at the moment, you can see this is red. That's because this UV is actually kind of crisscrossing over itself. It's a little bit upside down at the moment. Now if we move this, we can see it goes back to blue. All right, if we turn it over backwards, we'll really quickly get things turning red. So if you see things that are red, just try moving them around until you see that blue color, okay? It's gonna unfold things. So again, we know this edge right here corresponds with this one. So we'll just move that into place. And you can sort of guess where the rest of these will match up, all right? But do double check when you're doing this. After you've placed some things nearby the edges you think they belong to, make sure that you are grabbing these edges to check and make sure that they are in fact corresponding edges, all right? Now, of course, we haven't actually shaped all of this stuff on the side here, so, that's something we need to do as well. Again, just looking at our model, seeing what the shape is, and trying to match that shape the best we can, okay? And again, it's probably not going to be perfect, but it should look pretty similar to what you're seeing, well, in the model itself, okay? So something about like that. Of course, you can grab things and shape them and readjust them. You'll want to take some care when you're doing that. For now, I'm going to call this good, since we really just want to focus on the techniques here. So now, once I've got all my pieces in place like this, they are still separate pieces. You can see these big gaps in between each of the pieces. All that really remains is to sew them together into one solid piece, all right? And the way we do that is by grabbing these edges, okay, next to the gaps. You can go along here, grab these guys, anywhere where these gaps are. And we're going to use this tool right here, okay? It looks like a little needle, okay? And this is the Sew UVs tool. Just give that a click. And once you do that, you will no longer have gaps. You'll just have these solid edges, all right? And you can see now, if you move UVs along these edges, they are all connected. So this has now become one solid piece, all right, shaped like the front of our tooth, all right? So that's looking pretty good, and of course, once you do that, you'll want to go in and really pay attention to the shape of your tooth and kind of move things around accordingly, all right? And really try to match that shape. I'm not going to do that right now because it'll take a while, but that's the idea, okay? Now, in the book, I do believe we have a split down the center of the gum here, okay? That's optional. It's kind of a shaping preference. You may want to pull these out a bit, okay? And since the book does have a split, we'll go ahead and do that, just to show you how we could do that if we want to. Basically, all we would need to do is grab these edges right here, okay? Just these guys. And just use our cut tool, all right? Separate those UVs. Once we've done that, we can grab the UVs. You can see we can easily split this area apart, all right? Just like that. And again, I kind of leave that up to you whether you want to lay them out that way or not. The reason you might do that is to keep your UVs roughly the same size and shape as they are on your model. So sometimes it's good to put a seam in or two, all right? A seam can help you keep the model's shape true, but anywhere where we have seams, we're also going to see that when we add texture and paint to our model, okay? So I'm going to leave mine sewn together, I think. And just leave it about like that. So now that we've done one side, let's go ahead and do the other side. All right. So again, let's just start with something pretty, a good starting point here, which is just going to be this little bottom area, which we can see this guy lights up. So we know that's the bottom of the tooth. This one's going to be the next one over. This one is going to be the next one over on the other side. And we can kind of just follow these lines and where they're leading. All right. I'm going to do this one a little more quickly. Of course, if you get lost anywhere, you can always stop the video and watch again. Trying to place things roughly where they belong in relation to our tooth here, okay? So you can see with a bit of practice how quickly you can begin to start reshaping some of these types of things, okay? Okay, so we've got some corresponding edges right here that are currently not sewn together. Okay, so let's just go ahead and sew those quickly to kind of bring that piece back together. And this is looking very similar to the piece that we had before, okay? So, you know, it's pretty much going to be sort of a lather, rinse, and repeat process in this case, where we're just going to go along and find our corresponding edges, right? This guy and this guy right here. And we're just going to resize, reshape, just move things generally where they need to go to start matching up with their corresponding edges and to start matching up with the shape of this tooth model. Okay, so there we have, you know, roughly the shape of the tooth, okay, in place. Got all our pieces ready for sewing together. We can just grab these edges now. Make sure we get all of those and use our Sew UVs tool to just sew them together. And just like that, we've got our two sides of our tooth there. Again, you know, you'll want to pay more attention to your shaping and really make sure you try to match the shape of your actual tooth model. Mine are kind of rough at the moment. But once you've got that, you'll want to make sure that you have both of your tooth UVs in this dark gray area, okay? And you want to use up as much space as you possibly can in this dark gray area without going outside of the lines. Alright, so that just means you want to keep these roughly the same size as one another, but you want to scale them up and orient them in such a way that you will be able to use up as much of this space as you possibly can. Alright? And what that actually does is that gives you higher resolution for when you are painting your tooth model, okay? Meaning you'll be able to put more complex textures onto your tooth and they can look much more polished in the end, okay? So, when you're done, it should look something like this, alright? Let me know if you have any questions about anything we went over today, and that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and happy modeling!